Welcome to the Bending the Bracket podcast. Here are your hosts, Ben Madison and Lane Smith.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Bending the Bracket. My name is Ben Madison, your host. Alongside me, as always, the talented Mr. Lane Smith. Sir, how are you this evening?
Oh, I don't know about talent. That's giving me a lot of credit there.
Hey, you deserve it. I think you deserve it. Yeah. What's going on? How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. It's been an interesting finish to the week, which we'll get to in a minute. But weekend was good. Good weather. Finally getting cooler, so it's easier to get outside and do some stuff that I've been wanting to do for the last couple of weeks. So that's fun. But really, playoffs coming down to the end in Major League Baseball. So now all we got left is football. So
yeah, I know. It's like we're at the end. They're about to close that buffet in like an hour, and
yes.
I guess if for those of us that like to eat more than others, we shouldn't talk about it. But hey, look, you got to go back and get that last little plate of food while you can still choose your sport, essentially. So it's exciting times for sure. Hey, our Braves let us down. It's 2020, but it wasn't quite crazy enough to pull that one out.
Did we really think it would be? I mean, the Braves and the playoffs, didn't you kind of know how it was going to go?
Yes, I did, but at the same time, I held out hope, and I don't know why.
Yeah, you hope.
You're up 3-1. Come on,
you should win
more game.
You should.
One more
game. I go back to the game. They had the big lead and blew it at the end. They still won the game, but the Dodgers bats woke up. It gave them confidence, and that confidence carried them through.
Absolutely. Game 2. Atlanta held on and barely won the game, but they allowed LA to get 4 runs in the 9th inning and barely pulled that one out with a win. And then, of course, in Game 3, LA exploded for 11 in the first inning of Game 3. So essentially, LA scored 15 runs in 2 innings on them.
Yep.
And while the Braves came back and won Game 4, 10-2, I was, it's an emotional roller coaster that they put us on, and it was just perplexing. And then when you look at Game 7 last night and the terrible base running, I want to say that was the 4th inning maybe. Basically 2 runners get thrown out. Turner makes the play. He turns around and throws to third after tagging out the runner trying to score. And it was just basically they just left 2 runs on the board. And I turned to my wife and I said, this game is over. They're going to lose this game by 1 run. And that's exactly what happened.
Yep.
So it's, the more things change, the more things stay the same. The one thing I will say gives me a little hope is this team is loaded. This team is young. They have some young stars. They have a good coach in Brian Snitker. So I think that the future is going to be bright in Atlanta. I
think you're right. They've been good the last couple of years, and this is the best year they've had in a very long time. And so it looks like they got the right pieces. The players have confidence, and they've gotten this far. So next year, they know kind of where they are capable of being, and hopefully they'll go further than that.
Yeah, I think so. I think we have good reason to be optimistic. Playoff woes be damned. We'll see what we can do next year. For the Dodgers, is this finally the year that they're going to get over the hump?
I hope not. I hope not, because it is. When the Dodgers lose in the playoffs or the World Series, it's entertaining because the Dodgers front office, you never know what they're going to do. And Dave Roberts has somehow managed to cling on to his job for the last 3 years. So you got to believe if they don't close it out this year, Dave Roberts will be done in L.A.
I mean, you think that, but at the same time, like, has he been that bad?
No.
I mean,
but
they've won the NLCS 3 out of the last 4 years. They've been to the World Series. Of course, they haven't got over the hump, but they're still a really good team.
They are, but they've got too much money wrapped up in those players and those contracts to settle for the NLCS every year.
It's a good point. It's a fair point. I just don't know that you're going to get a better manager. I mean, who really are you going to get? Of course, you can get the best of the best, and there's always that new rising star. But baseball, from what I see, is just a lot of rotating the same managers around. And of course, I guess that's coaching in general in professional sports. But it seems like baseball more so. You get the same rotation of managers.
Yeah, you do. And there's some interesting names out there this time, though. A.J. Hinch is going to be available now, serving as your suspension. so he'll be back in the fold for somebody. Alex Cora is going to be back in the fold for somebody. There's some interesting names out there that have had success. So they could go get one of those. Hinch has the World Series title, beat the Dodgers. So maybe the Dodgers go out and look at him and give him a run. But if that's assuming Rogers or Roberts doesn't get the job done this year, which, let's be honest, if Roberts doesn't beat the Rays with that contract, with that payroll and those players, he shouldn't be there next year anyway.
I think the Rays are a good team, though.
They are.
They were the number one seed in the American League.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from the Rays at all. But when you look at the two payrolls, the Dodgers should beat them cleanly.
Oh, absolutely. But, I mean, payrolls don't equate to wins. We've seen that now for how many years?
No, but let's look at the rosters, though. I mean, the rosters aren't closed. I mean, LA's roster is far talented.
No, sure. And I think they're going to get it done this year. I really do. Maybe that's more of this 2020 thing. But I think this might finally be the year for them.
I hope not, but I tend to agree with you.
I have to say, I'm reluctantly pulling for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I can't do that. It's just,
and it's more because once I figured out that you just hate them so
well,
bad.
of course, yeah.
Like I said, the Turner jersey may have to be ordered. It stung for a couple of days, but I'm finally coming around. I've always liked some of the Dodger players. I really have. I just, the Dodgers overall, I don't love the team, don't hate the team. They're just there.
And you'd think I would like the Dodgers because I love the Yankees back in the 90s. I love what the Yankees did back in the 90s.
Yeah, that was so weird.
And the Dodgers are doing the same exact thing. So you'd think I'd like the Dodgers. I can't stand them.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, but are you really going to like the Yankees and the Dodgers? Not a chance. Not a chance. That's the matchup I wanted to see in the World Series. We didn't get it.
That would have been good.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Small market Tampa against big market LA. I guess that's the story in this game or in this series.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting in one respect. It's a neutral field. So it's going to be all the games going to be in Arlington. It's going to be interesting in that respect. No real crowd. They'll have a little bit of crowd, but there's no home field advantage for either team. So be interesting to see how they perform in those circumstances.
Yeah, and the thing that was interesting too in the NLCS is it was a neutral field in Arlington, but it was all Dodgers. I mean, those fans, the fans that were allowed to attend, that was all Dodgers. Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't see hardly any Braves fans there.
Yeah, that's surprising.
And it is because it's closer to Atlanta.
Yeah, Braves in the South anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of surprising. Of course, LA is a massive place where plenty of people with plenty of money can travel to to the Dallas area, and I suppose that's how it went down. But we'll see. I mean, I just want to see a good series. Don't really care who wins.
Yeah,
honestly.
no, I'm with you on that. Good series, go 7 games. It'd be fun.
Absolutely. So we'll see how it goes. Let's move on into the NFL, and we might as well start with the most recent first.
God, you really want to cover this right now?
I don't know, man. I mean, this Dallas team is terrible.
They're garbage.
They're so bad. I don't even know where to begin. I can't even really put my finger on it. I mean, the obvious is there, right? The defense is terrible. The defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. I could have played running back tonight and ran through those holes in that defense. I mean, they were everywhere. Kyler Murray did whatever he wanted to do. He was running around. He had some really good runs. He was throwing the ball wherever he wanted to. He had wide open receivers. This defense is not getting any better.
They're not, but they've got far more problems than just a defense. Look, let's be honest. They had these problems with Dak too. This isn't just because Dak's injured. This is the same team.
Of course.
You got wide receivers dropping pass after pass after pass. Zeke Elliott, after 6 weeks, still can't hold on to the football for some inexplicable reason.
Yeah, something's going on with him mentally.
Yeah.
I just don't see how, he's already, with the first fumble tonight, he had already exceeded his season.
Yeah.
Previous season total of lost fumbles, and then he goes out and fumbles again on the very next possession. And at that point, he's hitting himself on the side of the helmet, and he's in his own head.
And I don't know. I've given McCarthy a pass every week this year. I've defended him and said, I don't know. I still think McCarthy's good. It's just, he's working with the roster he didn't really have much to do with. No, there is no excuse for Zeke to be fumbling the ball like this and have these issues. That is coaching. Because if you can't coach Zeke on to hold on to the football, something as simple as holding on to the football, then you can't coach. and he's not doing a good job of coaching. They're 6 games in now. They're 2-4, and you're in danger of losing the locker room right now in your year 1.
Yeah, it's a bad spot for McCarthy to be in, and I don't know. Like you said, this goes so far beyond this defense, and it does show that Dak Prescott was really good at covering up a lot of these flaws. But even with him, they were
Still
losing.
losing.
So it's just not a good situation, and I don't really know what Jerry should do. I mean, you can't fire a brand new coach 6 games into a 5-year deal. You've lost your quarterback, and of course, this is always the story in Dallas. There's always
Yep.
an excuse.
Always.
So this season doesn't matter. Dak Prescott is down. They can lose the next 11 games, and it won't be anybody's fault other than, Dak had an unfortunate accident.
Yeah, here.
So
You say that, but it's Jerry, and Jason Garrett never had a team that was this bad. And so you could always defend Jason Garrett in the sense they went 7-9, 8-8. They were right there. This team isn't right there. This team's far away. So at the end of the year, if there's no improvement, this team is still this far away from even a 500 record. You really might have to look at McCarthy.
I just can't envision a world where Jerry would fire him after one season, especially with losing their franchise quarterback early in the season. I do see your point, and I think a rationally thinking person might think that. Say they finish 4-12, but I don't think that would happen with Jerry. And yes, to your point with Garrett, he never had a losing season in which his franchise quarterback was healthy the whole season. Now you can say he was Mr. J 8-8 and Garrett. But 8-8 is a lot better than 2-4, and what it's looking like here. I mean, I don't know, the whole excuse that you can just fall back on. This is a terrible division, and we can just get to 7-9 or 8-8. Well, this team is not going to be anywhere near 7-9 or 8-8.
No.
And even though Philadelphia's record does not reflect it, Philadelphia is a much better team than this Cowboys team right now. I mean, if you think the Cowboys could hang or mount any kind of comeback against Baltimore the way Philadelphia did yesterday, I mean, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, no, they're not. And look, Dallas' schedule doesn't do them any favors. Look, they got Washington next week at Washington. That game no longer looks like a gimme. I mean, Washington's going to be tough.
There is no give-me's on this schedule for a team this bad. You look at Arizona and you think, even I thought going in, okay, this is going to be a pretty evenly matched game. Of course, they don't have Dak, so that's why I may give the edge to Arizona by a field goal. Arizona kicked their ass tonight.
Yeah.
It wasn't even competitive. And of course, there were the 2 fumbles by Zeke that led to 14 points. But take those 14 points off the board, they still beat them soundly.
Yeah, and you've got wide receivers open, missing passes all over the field. And these are veteran wide receivers, minus CeeDee Lamb. Can't happen.
No, it can't. And look, I know this offensive line has been pummeled with injuries, a retirement, but still, I mean, you still, at the end of the day, there are a lot of other teams that have patchworked offensive lines. Look at what Carson Wentz has to work with. Absolutely nothing. You think Carson Wentz wouldn't take this patched up offensive line with those 3 receivers and Zeke Elliott?
I mean,
he would burn the league up.
He would.
So I'm really just over it. I'm over it as a Cowboys fan. I just, it is what it is. It is what it is. This team is a disaster. They've been a disaster. They're going to remain a disaster. And sure, when Dak comes back, if this keeps up, they'll gladly pay him $45 million, and he'll get them to maybe 6-10, 7-9 every year, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with Dak. I really don't know if they're going to get Dak what he wants. I don't. And the injury didn't help things. I think they're going to franchise him again. But after that, I have no idea what direction they go in at quarterback or coach, for that matter.
It couldn't be a worst case scenario. All of the optimism going into this season with McCarthy, with the new staff. Of course, question mark still with Dak as far as long term, but he did get the franchise tag signed well before the season. So this is just worse than anyone could have imagined. And And it's not that they're losing close games because they're not quite buttoned up. You look at the first game of the season when they played the Rams, that was a close game that they weren't quite buttoned up for. Okay.
Right. No,
And
it
so
is.
that's acceptable, but it's just been an absolute disaster, getting worse every week ever since then.
It is. And I don't, right now, I'm not blaming Dalton as much as you might think, because Dalton didn't get a preseason. He's had no time with this offense minus the last week. So I'm not putting this as much on Dalton as I am coaching staff and the players around him that have been playing since week one. So if Dalton doesn't look any better against Washington, then you can look at Dalton and have that conversation. But I would give Dalton a pass for this week.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many problems. Blaming him
God,
is
yes, tons of problems.
it's that I could talk about this all day.
Yeah.
It is what it is. The team is a disaster.
And we have talked about this at nauseam. There's no defense for this.
No, it's an absolute disaster. If there are any Cowboys fans out there, any fellow Cowboys fans, may I add you, that are somehow delusional that this team's going to turn it around and make a playoff run or get into the playoffs, just lay off the crack pipe at this point. Seriously, this team sucks.
Yeah,
they're horrible.
They are. They got put in one of the Cowboys fan groups. They were talking about what's his name, the quarterback, Dalton. And
Dalton.
I said, hey, if you think Dalton's your problem, you got a lot bigger problems. Dalton's the least of your worries right now.
Oh yeah, and that's why Jerry can get away with what he's done for the last quarter century, is because he has a delusional fan base, and a fan base that, they can't see the forest for the trees, and they think they're just so close. And you look at what Stephen Jones said 2 or 3 weeks ago. He says, "We're right there." You're not right there. I don't want to hear it. No. You're all living in a fantasy land.
It's all lip sync.
It's all lip service, and it's really, really getting old.
It is.
So let's move off that. I can't get on that anymore. So it doesn't get much better for me, because I go into these games that I just, for some reason, had the conviction to pick, and I picked so wrong. Let's look at this first game where Pittsburgh absolutely dismantled the Cleveland Browns. Look, Pittsburgh is the most complete team in the league. I would even say maybe even a little more complete than Kansas City. We'll get into the Kansas City Buffalo game here shortly, which was also a good one this evening, or this afternoon rather. Pittsburgh's defense is the best defense by far, and that's even taking into consideration the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and what they did yesterday. This Pittsburgh team is scary.
Yep, they are. I've been high on them since first week. They weren't getting a lot of attention because they had not played anybody good. And then you get Cleveland, which is on a hot streak, won 4 in a row, and they totally dismantled Cleveland, made them look silly. Baker Mayfield was benched late in the game. Cleveland, I'm not as low on Cleveland as some people today are. Just I think they're being a little unreasonable with Cleveland. I think they're fine. I think Pittsburgh is an elite team in this league. I think it's them and Kansas City right now.
Pittsburgh's a good football team, or they're a great football team. I'm sorry. Cleveland is a good football team.
Yes.
They're held back by their quarterback. I was never in on Baker Mayfield. I always thought he was overrated. I never thought he could play at a high level. I gave him the benefit of the doubt so many times, especially early in this season, and said, well, maybe he can be. But we've talked ad nauseum about the fact that he still needs to be an efficient player. At the end of the day, that's holding your franchise back. And look, he was terrible yesterday. He is what he is. You cannot give this guy a contract. You just can't. You need to cut your ties with him. You need to draft another quarterback or trade for another quarterback and be done with it.
I don't know. I see what you're saying. Mayfield is limited. He's not an elite quarterback by any stretch of imagination, but he's shown the ability to manage this offense. So I know he can do that. His decision-making is troubling. And in these big games against the Steelers or other elite defenses, he is what he is. But let me ask you a question. Who are they going to go get? Because they're still a playoff team, so they're not going to get a high draft pick.
They already have a carbon copy of Baker Mayfield in Case Keenum sitting on the bench. I mean,
Right.
what you can argue why bench Baker for Case Keenum when they're essentially the same thing, and Baker may have a little higher upside occasionally. But again, I mean, when it comes time to extend or pay him, why would you do that when you have Keenum right here, and he's 90% of Baker Mayfield? I mean, this team is not going to go to a Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl, go deep in the playoffs with Baker Mayfield. They're just not.
Right. And look, if this was Kansas City, if this was Pittsburgh, if this was LA, any of those good big market teams, you're right. Now, I'd agree with you. Here's the thing: it's Cleveland. They have not had a star quarterback in Cleveland, and since I've been alive, Baker Mayfield is the
Um,
closest thing they've
you
had.
need to apologize to Bernie Kosar right now. Right now.
Yeah, right. So this, I can't believe you said that with a straight face. So this is the closest thing they've had to a star in my lifetime, and so
But why is he a
for
star? He's a star because he does progressive commercials and runs his mouth.
right.
He's
No,
not a
you're
star
right.
because he's done a damn thing in the
no.
NFL.
Agree. I agree with you. But here's the thing: if that team goes 10-6 and goes to the first round of playoffs and gets blown out, it doesn't matter.
This year it's fine.
Cleveland.
This year it's fine. But next year,
next year.
no,
It's fine
it's
next
not.
year.
Not when they have Stefanski. Not when they're building a winning culture. They
I
won
think
4
this-
games in a row. That's fine for now, but the goal still has to be, because I believe in Stefanski wholeheartedly. I think he's an excellent coach.
I do too.
And the goal has to be he has to throw out that old Cleveland mentality and completely get rid of it. And it's going to be some pain along the way to do that, but he's got to do it. I mean, I see where you're coming from, but I just don't see I don't see a reason to keep Baker Mayfield around. It was an idiotic pick to pick him number 1 overall.
No, he's not a number 1 pick.
He's not a
really.
first round quarterback. He's
Right.
just
No,
not.
I agree.
Let
I agree
alone a
with that.
top draft pick. I mean, you can hate on Sam Darnold all you want to, but at least he's shown flashes of greatness. We can argue about the rest of him, but his upside, you can see the potential from time to time. With Baker, I don't really know what it is. You don't have the strongest arm. He's not fast. He's very predictable. He makes very bad reads on defenses. What are we in year 4 now? I mean, he's just not improving.
I agree. And does he get a pass from having horrible coaching up until this year?
So, but I mean, just like your argument on Darnold, I mean, look at the other players that are drafted in similar spots. Look at what Carson Wentz has done. And I mean, Carson Wentz hasn't technically won anything other than the division. But still, you see the potential with Baker. What do you see? What do you see?
Yeah, you're right. But I don't know. All right, you said Case Keenum's on the bench. Pay Case Keenum. All right, that's fine, but you're still not going to get any better with the same quarterback. They go 10-6 this year with Baker Mayfield, get Case Keenum in the next year, and go 10-6 again. It's the same team. So what are you going to do to do any better from Baker Mayfield when you're going 10-6 every year?
Well, I'm not saying that their goal should be to start Case Keenum long term,
Right.
but I'm saying if it's between that or paying Baker Mayfield,
Right.
or even picking up that 5th-year option, I just don't see a reason to do it. I just don't.
I'm just thinking in the future though, if this team is going to be a playoff team, at least a divisional playoff team every year, they're not going to get a high draft pick. So where are you looking for your franchise quarterback? Because you're going to get a high draft pick to go get him.
I mean, you're going to have Dak Prescott after next year. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent, and you go pay him $48 million.
That's interesting. If that happens, that's interesting.
It is interesting. And there's the 50,000 ways that could go.
Yep.
But not to get too off topic, but he would be the rarest of unicorns if he was in his full prime, franchise quarterback, open and available on the market. I don't think the ankle injury is going to do much to that. I think there's still a lot of teams just like Minnesota and Kirk Cousins that would pay him. They would back up the Brinks truck for him.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he's going to get paid by somebody, whether it's Dallas or somebody else. He will get paid. Just it remains to be seen what that is going to be. And I do want to see how he bounces back from this injury. This is a very serious injury. And so playing that position, I do want to see how he bounces back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Anyway, to wrap up this Pittsburgh game, Pittsburgh's amazing. They really are. I can't wait to see them play Tennessee next week. That
They
is,
get Tennessee next week,
they
but
get Tennessee next week.
they've got Kansas City coming up in a few weeks.
Right. But I mean,
That's going to be unbelievable.
Tennessee, I mean, you know,
Oh yeah, no,
now
we'll
I'm
get to
telling you,
Tennessee.
now I'm having to tell you about Tennessee because once
No.
again, I was wrong on Tennessee. It took overtime, but they did beat Houston, which we'll get to that game right now. That was a good game. I mean, the Titans, they outlasted Houston 42-36 in overtime. When you look at the quarterbacks, they both played their butts off in this game. Deshaun, 28 of 37, 335, 4 touchdowns. Tannehill, 30 of 41, 364, 4 touchdowns, the 1 pick. But man, this was a quarterback duel, and I don't know that you ever would have said that before this season.
No, I don't know. You wouldn't have said that the first 4 games into the season.
No.
But this is a different Houston team, and I'm not going to Bill O'Brien or anything like that. I'm just pointing out this offense is clicking now, and you're seeing more of the offense you've come used to seeing in the last 3 or 4 years since Watson got there. They're getting better every week. They're getting Brandon Cooks involved. He's becoming the clear favorite. And you've still got Randall Cobb and you've got Fuller. So he's got 3 elite receivers there that are all capable of putting up big yards. Randall Cobb's more of a slot receiver, but he does a good job in the slot. And their running game still needs work, but he's able to utilize it in a way that gets them what they need. They're efficient. So hats off to Romeo Cornell for being able to get them a couple wins his first couple weeks. Or actually 1 win. He could have gotten a win yesterday, but still, yesterday, even in that loss, if you're Houston, you got to feel like that's a win against that team.
Oh, you got to feel good about it. Yeah, because this is not the same Tennessee Titans that have been in your division for the last 5+ years that you could beat usually once or twice a year easy. So it was impressive that they hung in there. And while there's no such thing as moral victories, this was close because it was a game they came back and they could have won the game. On the other side of the coin, the Tennessee Titans, another win, undefeated. They look good. And I don't really know that they have any weaknesses because their only weakness before, in my opinion, was Ryan Tannehill, and he's playing like a rock star.
Yeah, no, he is. Ryan Tannehill looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the league, clearly. And
Yes.
I can't even believe I'm saying that with a straight face. Coming when he left Miami, my God, he was horrible in Miami. If y'all didn't see him play in Miami, he was garbage.
Speaking of that, I think we have the indictment for Adam Gase, and if he ever coaches in this league again, that franchise should cease to exist. I mean, this guy is a quarterback killer.
Yeah, no, he is, and I don't. Gase is. The Jets might go 0-16. This is a bad team.
They got smacked by Miami, which, I mean, of course, Miami smacked San Francisco the week before, so don't look now, but the Miami Dolphins are 3-3 and better than the New England Patriots in the win column. This is 2020. What are you going to do?
Right. No, yeah, I know.
It's unbelievable. So next week, Pittsburgh and Tennessee, going to be a fantastic game. We'll get into that a little bit Thursday when we go over week 7 previews.
All right, game of the week for me. I say game of the week. The game that surprised me this week was Atlanta getting a big win, 40-23 over the Vikings. If you're the Vikings, you're really scratching your head and wondering what in the world is going on. You got winless Atlanta coming into Minnesota. Matt Ryan goes 30 for 40, 371 yards and 4 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins, 24 for 36, 343 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He is average at best, and Matt Ryan looks like an all-star, and they are winless going into yesterday.
Yeah, this is the Falcons that I knew were there somewhere. And even in their losses and these huge leads that they blew, they still showed, of course, the ability to score and grab a lead. I just think they had given up on playing for Dan Quinn, quite honestly. And this is a team that is probably the most dangerous 1-5 team in history.
Yeah, no, look, I've never doubted the offense for a second. The offense, we've always known what kind of star power they have. And Matt Ryan is still a very good quarterback in this league, even at his age. So, yeah, it could be Dan Quinn. A lot of it probably is Dan Quinn. So we'll see what they do with Raheem Moore. I don't know. I mean, you look at what the Texans are doing with Romeo Crennel. So I don't know how good Crennel is. I don't know how good Raheem is going to be, and it's going to take a few weeks to iron that out. But
Oh, for sure. And it just the change alone brings in, a little bit of optimism and a new attitude for the upcoming week. So, that's what they do. These teams typically a lot of times can win this game, after the coach is fired midseason. And it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of an energy thing, I suppose. Arthur Blank said, if they go 11-0, did you hear about that? Someone asked him if he would consider Raheem for the
no.
new head coach, and he goes, "Yeah, if they go 11-0." Brutal honesty. Brutal honesty. I mean,
Ooh,
but
that's
it
bad.
it
Yeah,
is
that is.
totally
That really is.
totally a slide at Raheem. So, I don't know how he takes that, but maybe he takes it as a challenge and says, "Hey, well, let's go 11-0." So, will it happen? Hell no. But
Yeah, I mean, they're not. There's no way this team's going to do that. Their defense alone is not that good. But the offense is going to keep them in games. The offense is going to be competitive, and it's going to keep them competing in just about any game they play.
moving over to New England now, where this was the shocker of the week for me. I know you thought the Minnesota Atlanta game was a shocker. This was an absolute shocker. I did tell you last show that I would not put money on that line of New England by 9.5. Now, I wasn't imagining Denver to win the game. I thought Denver may lose it by 6 or 7 points, somewhere in there, 6 to 7. Uh, they won the game. I mean, this was a terrible performance from the Patriots, and Cam Newton was pretty bad. Come to think of it, both of these quarterbacks were absolutely terrible. Drew Lock, 10 for 24, 189 yards, 2 interceptions. Don't ask me why Drew Lock is still their quarterback, but he is. Cam, 17 of 25, 157, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, this is just a dreadful quarterback game.
So I don't know if this is an indictment on New England. I'm not worried about them yet. They've had a couple weeks of unusual circumstances, and they haven't practiced as much as they normally would. They still have the best coach in history of the game on the sideline, so I'm not worried about the Patriots right now. I don't take a lot of stock in this game in the final. It was not a good game for Cam Newton by any stretch of imagination, but I do expect them to bounce back, and I think they will be fine.
The thing I worry about, I'm not worried about New England as a team. Obviously, Bill is a genius. His players are smart. They don't shoot themselves in the foot generally. I'm worried about the quarterback position, and while Cam is miles better than their other two options, uh, he still is inconsistent, and this is a perfect example of that. And this is why I've never been able to put him up as a quite an elite quarterback. He's a special player, and he's that tier 2 quarterback, but he's inconsistent. You see the inconsistencies that you do not see from the other elite quarterbacks in the league. And so this is what scares me. They've never had this issue with, of course, Tom Brady, who's the GOAT. So you wouldn't expect that. But this inconsistency, I think, is really going to become a problem down the stretch. Do I still think they win the division? Probably so. If not, they'll be a wild card team. I still think this team wins 9 games. But are you really going to say they have a chance with Cam Newton as inconsistent that he's been when you're talking about playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, when you're talking about playing the Kansas City Chiefs, the Tennessee Titans? I mean, these teams are powerhouses. I mean, I think New England's ceiling this year may be a wild card berth.
I think they have Bill Belichick, and so as long as Belichick is there on coaching on that sideline, they are in any game they play.
I want to say that, but I also feel like if I do say that, that it's living in the past a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see. You're probably right, but this is really alarming to me. This game was very alarming to me. I know they've had issues with COVID. I know all of that. I know Cam just came back from being cleared from having COVID, and maybe he still felt bad. I don't know what it was, but this was just to me unacceptable.
Yeah, yeah. In a normal week, I'd agree with you, but I just knowing that Cam really hadn't played in 2 weeks, and they've haven't practiced much. And I look, I would have given the same excuse to the Tennessee Titans last week had they lost. Now they went out and blew Buffalo's doors off, so I can't compare the two. But I still got to give an edge to New England here, and I got to believe they're going to bounce back. As bad as this loss was, I don't think there's an indictment of who they're going to be the rest of the way.
Well, I hope you're right because the league is just better when the Patriots
Right,
are good
absolutely
because they're a
agree.
villain. I hope they're good. I hope they're there in the thick of it. And I hope I'm wrong, but I have question marks, but yeah, we'll move on from that game. Going on to Tampa, which was supposed to be the game of the week. It was more of the ass kicking of the week, if you're being quite honest. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers absolutely destroyed the Green Bay Packers 38-10. You nailed this game. I was absolutely wrong on this game. This Aaron Rodgers had no shot because this was a carbon copy of what happened when the Green Bay Packers played the San Francisco 49ers on two different occasions last year. They ran into a hard-nosed football team and they punched them in the mouth.
Right. And I asked you this morning, why is this, what makes this Green Bay team better than last year? Because they did nothing in the offseason to be better than they were last year. It's the same exact team.
They're not better. They're the same team. As we discussed in last episode, they were 4-0 on a bunch of defenses that were ranked in the 20s. This was the first time they really had a test, and they failed miserably. And look, I mean, Aaron had the pick six. In the very next drive, he had another pick that might as well have been a pick six because they got it back to the 2-yard line. And from then on out, he had no shot. He was hit 11 times. He was sacked 5 times. This is just a dominating defense. You called this defense last week. You said they remind you of Denver from 2015. I said no chance, but I'm starting to rethink that.
No, the Tampa defense is legit. They've been legit all year. They've been in every game. When the games that Tampa has lost this year has not been because of their defense. Their defense is tops in the league or one of the tops in the league. So I think this team can go as far as they want to go with that defense. If Brady keeps playing the way he did yesterday, and if that keeps on, they're going to be dangerous. And here's the other thing from yesterday it's going to show you the difference in Tom Brady and everybody else. 0 penalties.
Yes.
Tampa had zero
penalties after having 11 the week before.
Right.
And if you don't think that was because the GOAT got in their face and said, not on my team, you're crazy.
Right. That's exactly what, because he was yelling at players and chewing them out on the sideline in that Thursday night game. They lost to Chicago and got embarrassed. And you better believe that carried on into practice, and they heard about that for the last 10 days straight. They heard about penalties and discipline, and they went out in a game yesterday and played flawless.
Yeah. So they're scary. There's 3 teams in this league. I would say 2, maybe 3. Their defense is so absolutely dominating that their quarterbacks can have very pedestrian numbers and they can still win ball games by 30 points. Tampa is one of them. You look at Brady, he was efficient, 17 of 27, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. The thing that was impressive is they got Rob Gronkowski involved in the offense.
Yep, finally. Rob Gronkowski's been missing in action all year, so it was good to see him get involved in this offense. And if that continues the rest of the way, it makes the team even more dangerous.
Yep. And the other team I'm speaking about, of course, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Really quickly going back to that game, you look at Ben Roethlisberger, his numbers didn't blow you away. It was 14 of 22, 162, 1 touchdown. Very reminiscent of his early days in Pittsburgh, his second season when they won the Super Bowl. And he was essentially just a game manager. Of course, he and I believe Tom still to an extent, although Tom is really, I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to say he's not what he once was. I think he can still step up in a game that he has to win and throw the ball around the field. So these 2 teams are very scary because they have multiple ways to win. And another team you do not agree with, but I'm still going to put them in this class, is the Chicago Bears. Because you have Nick Foles, who makes plays when he needs to make them. You have a very good coach in Matt Nagy. And you saw Tampa and Chicago play last week. I mean, they're essentially the same damn team.
I don't know. Chicago is, no. I'm just not there in Chicago.
I think you're just going off of what Chicago has always
Well,
been, which is what I do a lot of the
they're
time.
so limited. Their defense is great. There's no doubt about that. I'm not disputing that, but they are so limited on offense.
Tampa's not limited on offense. Look at the numbers.
No, I mean Brady. Yeah, like I said, Brady still can have that game. He's capable of having that.
He's a
game.
shell of himself, though. He's a shell of what he once was.
Absolutely, but he's got a good running game.
Is he better than Nick Foles right now? I don't know. I don't think so.
I would.
They're both the weakest link on their team. Let's just be honest. You hate to say, you feel like it's sacrilege to say it, but it's okay to say it.
I think
the only question mark I have on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is their quarterback.
I don't think that's a question mark. I think that he's the best veteran quarterback in the league, and
no doubt. I mean, he's the smartest. He has the intangibles, but I'm talking about on the field, deep in the playoffs. They're playing in Chicago. It's 6 degrees outside. Does he have the physical capability to make the throws when he has to? That's my question marks. Then we're going to see. We're going to see when it happens.
Look, I mean, Belichick had this team, the same quarterback, virtually the same quarterbacks in Tampa, and he had them on the brink of the Super Bowl last year. So I do think that they are every bit as good as they were last year, or Brady was last year, with a better team around him.
Was that the Tom Brady that threw a pick six out of his own end zone to lose in the first round at home on a Saturday night?
He was throwing to a bunch of lawn chairs too.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Nikhil Harry's a lawn chair?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Julian Edelman?
Yeah, Edelman's good, but I mean, is that the only one he had?
If you're the GOAT, do you need like 6 Randy Mosses on the field? Like, these guys are serviceable receivers. Cam Newton's looked good with them overall. I think he's absolved of all blame from last season in New England, and I think he held a lot of it, quite honestly.
Yeah, he did, no doubt. And look, he deserves some criticism this year for some of the decisions he's made, and he's had some bad pick sixes this year. I'm not taking that away from him.
Yeah,
I'm not defending that, but this team overall is better than the team he had in New England last year. The defense is better.
No, there's no question. They're much better.
Yeah,
but he's also a year older. And so when I look at Tampa, not to talk about them forever, their defense, amazing. Special teams, good. Coaching, good enough. Defensive coaching, brilliant. Offensive line, solid. Running game, solid. Where's your question mark? It's your quarterback. It's got to be your quarterback, because if he was Tom Brady from 2 years ago, you go ahead and give him the Super Bowl rings, because they're going to win it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's going to. I hadn't seen that. Look, if this was week 1 and that lost to the Saints, I would say, yeah, you're right. But this is a totally different team than the team that lost to the Saints in week 1.
We'll see how it goes for them. I'm curious. I hope I'm wrong, because I'd like to see them succeed. I want to see, New England and Tampa in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. God, the ratings for that game would be through the roof.
The ratings would be through the roof, and people would still be so pissed because people got so tired of seeing Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl. And wouldn't it be perfect irony that they divorce and still end up in the damn Super Bowl against one another?
Take my money. That'd be tremendous.
It'd be fantastic. It would be fantastic. Tampa Bay would probably crush them just because of the talent on both sides of the ball. But
do you know how bad Belichick would want that game, though?
Oh,
they would win. All my money goes to New England in that game.
Oh, that would be fantastic to see.
Yeah.
I would just like to see them play in the regular season, let alone the Super Bowl. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I haven't looked ahead to next year's schedule, and next year will probably be the last year. Although, I don't know. I hear rumblings of Brady starting to want to play till he's 48 now. And I'm just like, really?
No. 45 is good. Play your 45. Go out with some dignity.
43.
He's 43 now.
And he signed a 2-year deal. So that's this year and next year. And then he may do, I guess, I'm assuming he would do maybe one more 1-year deal. I just don't know. I don't know. But
yeah, I think if next year, if he's playing next year like he is this year, then fine. Play to your 45, but cut it off at 45.
For sure.
Go out some dignity. Sure.
So the other game tonight was the Chiefs and the Bills. The Chiefs outlast the Bills 26-17. This was a lower scoring game. It was in the rain in Buffalo. Started at the very weird time of 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. And I was at work and I forgot about the game. And then I looked down. I was like, oh, the game is on. This is so weird. Anyway, the Chiefs roll. The Chiefs, it was close for a little while. The Chiefs pulled away 23-10. Buffalo got a late touchdown to kind of make it interesting. But the Chiefs were the far better team. The Chiefs doubled the Bills in yardage. The Chiefs ran the ball down their throats, 245 total yards on the ground. Clyde Edwards-Helaire got word that they got Le'Veon Bell, and he answered with 26 carries, 161 yards, a 6.2 average per carry. Just a fantastic game from your man from LSU.
Look, Helaire is a freak. I said it when they drafted him. The kid he can be anywhere on the field. He can play any position on offense that you want him to play. He has got all the tools of a special player, and he is going to be a great player in this league for years to come if he can stay healthy. The only reason I say that is because of his frame, his size. You do worry about him staying healthy, but he has been great. 161 yards on the ground today was unbelievable game for him, especially in those conditions. They played it was raining the whole game. Ball was slippery, field was slippery, and there was a lot of runs. But the thing to hear is that Bills defense could not stop the run at all.
Yeah, the Bills I'm starting to have some concerns about, and I still think they're a solid football team, but I think they are what we thought they were. Not to quote the late great Denny
Yes.
Green, we thought they were a good 9-7, 10-6 team, a wild card team, pretty much what they were last year, maybe a little better. And we all got infatuated with the start Josh Allen had. He came back down to earth tonight in a big way. Only 122 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 27 attempts, 14 completions. But this is more of who he is. He's still going to have these games where he breaks out and gives you 5 touchdowns, but he's also going to be this. He turns the ball over still from time to time when it's just the worst possible time. And for Pat Mahomes, really an efficient game. This is the other side of the Chiefs that really scares you because, yes, they can torch you 48-41, but they can also go out and Pat Mahomes can do 21-26 for 225, 2 touchdowns, and they run the ball down your throat for 245, and all of a sudden they look like the Baltimore Ravens, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought that was an air assault. And now you're talking about you've added Le'Veon Bell, who for some reason everyone thinks is washed up. Why do you think that? He's not 40 years old. Is he going to be what he was in Pittsburgh? No. But can he not be a very important weapon, yet another weapon for Pat Mahomes? Of course he can.
Right. No, they add Bell, and that really is going to make Helaire even more dangerous.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because Bell can line up at receiver. He's great catching passes out of the backfield. If nothing else, he can be a decoy. This team is just a massive headache and to defend rather.
Yeah. No, the one thing I would say on Josh Allen is let's not forget he is still developing. He's only year 3. This kid has got all the potential in the world. He's got the strongest arm I've seen in a long time. And I don't know, Sean McDermott's done a phenomenal job in Buffalo, but I don't know how great McDermott is. You know what I mean? Like, he's good, but I put Josh Allen with Bill Belichick, and I think Allen's a totally different quarterback. So it's all dependent on his coaching. He's being let down a little bit by his coaching, I believe. But Allen's very good. And I'm worried about the Bills. I think their ceiling is the divisional round. So as far as that goes, but he's fun to watch play. And I had worried about Stephon Diggs going there. I didn't know how he'd fit in and how Allen would use him. But Diggs has been beautiful in that offense. He's done great. So he's another dynamic to that offense. And if their defense gets a little better against the run, they'll be fine. I just, for this year though, I'm with you. I think, divisional round is about it for them.
Yeah, they're fine. They're a good team. They're in that tier 2 of the AFC that we discussed. They're not going to hang with Kansas City, and truly they kind of did hang with Kansas City, I suppose. But you just knew watching that game, Kansas City, they double their yardage. They were just a better football team, and it really wasn't close. The score was closer than the level of competition on the field. Tennessee has proven now, in my opinion at least, that they are in that top tier of the AFC, or at least in the discussion for it, with the Baltimores, the Kansas Cities, the Pittsburghs. Buffalo's definitely in that tier 2. And I think Cleveland's also in that tier 2, even after their dismantling this weekend. Maybe the Raiders in that tier 2. We'll see how they do the rest of the way. They definitely have the ability to be in that tier. So, but yeah, Buffalo is kind of what we thought they were.
No, they are, and they're fun to watch. They're still fun to watch. This offense is still fun to watch, but going in kind of what you're getting.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So just to kind of wrap up the NFL, go around the league, the rest of the scores. The Niners get back on the winning track. They beat the Rams 24-16, which kind of surprised me, quite honestly. I thought the Rams would take that game. The Bears continue to find ways to win. They beat the Panthers 23-16. Bears now 5-1, Lane's Chicago Bears. The Colts come back on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Really, it's just the Joe Burrows. I don't even know what they call them, the Cincinnati Bengals. It's just a one-man show, but still a hell of a game for Joe Burrow. He's going to be a star. He is a star. He's going to be amazing in this league. They can't hold off the Colts. The Colts come back 31-27, and it took everything the Colts had to win that game. The Lions actually doubled up the Jaguars. The Jaguars, after starting off the season with a victory, just a disaster. I mean, they've just completely fallen apart. When you get doubled up by the Lions, you have issues. Giants over Washington 2019, in which was an absolutely unwatchable football game.
Yep.
And the Dolphins blanked the Jets 24-0. The Jets, without a doubt, the worst team in the league. And that's saying a lot in a league with the Giants, the Jaguars, and the Washington football team.
Yeah, the note on the Dolphins game is Tua got in. Tua got his first little bit of playing time there in the fourth quarter.
Tua got some playing time, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, it was good to see him get in. He didn't do a lot. I mean, his fourth quarter was late in the game. It was garbage time, but he did get in. He got to do a little bit. It was just good to see him out there after an injury last year, and it's good to see him come back from that.
Oh, absolutely.
The other thing that was great to see is his biggest cheerleader was none other than Ryan Fitzpatrick. And we talked about Fitzpatrick, but this guy yesterday, when Tua came in the ball game, he had his hands in the air. He was biggest grin on his face. He was trying to get the crowd into it. Fitzpatrick is really a class act, and it just warms your heart to see something like that from the starting quarterback.
Yeah, he is a class act, and I think the thing that I love the most about the whole Tua being able to make an appearance in the game was the Instagram photo. I don't know if you saw that after the game, but he was just literally sitting on the 15-yard line, still in his uniform in an empty stadium. It was a spot, of course, where he had the devastating injury in college. He FaceTimes his parents to let them know that, hey, look, I'm back, and I played in the NFL. I played in a game. And that was just heartwarming. I mean, unless you're made of stone, you had to have loved that moment.
No, I did. It was really special. And I don't know how many times we'll see Tua play this year because Fitzpatrick playing out of his mind. But it was good to see that yesterday, and good to see the kid battle back and be where he is right now.
Yeah, and don't look now, but the Dolphins are 3-3. I mean, they smashed San Francisco last week, which is still a pretty good thing when you consider how well they bounced back this week against a good Rams team. Really dominated them there. Of course, they beat the Jets, but I mean, you, me, and 9 guys from the bus stop could beat the Jets at this point. But still, they're 3-3, and 3-3 is 3-3, and they're a half game above New England, which is really interesting.
The Dolphins are doing a lot of good things. They've got an excellent coach. And we'll see if Tua is as good as they say he is going to be. This team can be very good. They got to keep building around him. They got to keep building up the offensive line. They do need a stronger running game, but they're good. Dolphins are doing a lot of good things, and I'm excited to see what they do in the next few years.
Yeah, for sure. I think that AFC East is going to actually turn into a decent division for once.
Yeah, so give me your best quarterbacks, top to bottom, in the AFC North.
That's a good question. For this year, like for right now, to win the division this year. Number one is Ben Roethlisberger still. And I know Lamar Jackson's in that division, but Ben is a 2-time Super Bowl champion, a weathered veteran. I'll take him any day of the week when he's healthy.
Yep.
Two, Lamar Jackson. No playoff experience, or I'm sorry, no playoff victories, 2 playoff losses. I think there's way too big of a deal made of that. I think the kid will win plenty of playoff games in his life. 3, definitely Joe Burrow. It's not even close. They've already played earlier this year between him and Baker Mayfield. He's clearly a much better player than Baker Mayfield.
That's the point I was making.
Baker Mayfield is far and away the worst quarterback in his division. And I could argue he's maybe the 12th best quarterback in the AFC, and that's being generous.
Yeah, no, that's the point I was going to make. Burrow is a rookie with a 1-5 team is still better than Baker Mayfield.
Oh, that was obvious in week 2 when they played on Thursday Night Football.
You felt like Cincinnati
and the Browns destroyed the team of the Bengals, but Burrow kept bringing them back. And that was very obvious for anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together that Joe Burrow was a much better option at quarterback than Baker Mayfield.
And I don't know. Here's the thing with the Bengals, though, is they're not. This is who the Bengals are going to be for as long as Burrow's there. They're not going to do what they got to do.
See, you think that, but you know this kid. He played for your school. He won the championship last year. Had the best college football season of all time. Do you really think that he is going to sit back and take that? No, not in today's NFL, because in today's NFL, these players are finally starting to gain mobility. They're finally having the courage to play the market, to ask for trades. You're finally starting to see quarterbacks change teams like NBA players do. It's an empowering thing, and it's just going to continue. So there's not a chance Joe Burrow signs a long-term deal after 4 seasons with this team.
No, I agree with that. He's not.
But they stay the same.
Right. No, I agree with that completely. But Burrow, you're hoping, is going to just stay upright and be the same quarterback that he is right now 4 years from now, so he can go to a different team and get paid and be the star that we know he is.
I think he will be.
Because he's not going to be that in Cincinnati.
I think he will be, unless Cincinnati somehow can change things. And a coach can change everything. That's shown in the same division with Kevin Stefanski. A coach can change everything. So if they will fire Zach Taylor, no doubt, whether it's this year or next year, 2 games into next year.
No, it'll be this year.
Probably right. And so there's a belief that you cannot get a good coach if your team and your franchise is garbage, such as the Cleveland Browns. But they got Kevin Stefanski. And look, maybe I'm building up Kevin Stefanski too much, but I see a culture change already. And so the idea that Cincinnati could not get a coach who could do the same thing, I think they could. Now, will they? Who knows?
Well, so here's the difference in Cincinnati and Cleveland. And as bad as Cleveland has been, Cleveland has ownership that has a viable interest in seeing this team win and be successful. Cincinnati does not have that.
That's a good point, but I don't know how accurate that assessment of Cleveland's ownership really is.
Well, look what they've done. I mean, if they didn't care, then Hugh Jackson would still be there. I mean, clearly they care about success and they want to be successful, and they've made all these moves, or they've allowed their GM to make all these moves that have put these players around Baker Mayfield. So they do want to be successful.
You remember the golden days of the Cincinnati Bengals when they were like 9-7, 10-6, and Marv Lewis would take them to the playoffs, and we'd rag on Marv Lewis. Can you imagine if they still had Marv Lewis and Joe Burrow? Man, they would be.
But look, they had a better team. They had a good defense, not great, but a good defense. And at the time, they had A.J. Green looking like a Hall of Fame receiver. Now A.J. Green looks like the best player on the varsity team.
He does, but Joe Burrow is getting him the ball, so.
No, I guess he is, but his top receivers have been T. Higgins and
the rookie.
The rookie, and then Tyler Boyd.
Sure, absolutely. Well, A.J. Green's getting up there in age, just like Julio Jones.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But Very interesting. I think Burrow has a bright future. Whether or not it's in Cincinnati, I don't. If you don't think there can be a bright future in Cincinnati, then it'll be elsewhere.
Right. I think it's definitely elsewhere, and we'll see what happens. But long time to go between now and then.
For sure. So let's talk about this college football game. This game that featured the Alabama Crimson Tide smashing the Georgia Bulldogs 41-24.
Just like I predicted.
Oh, just like you predicted. We'll get to that in the next segment. But look, this Alabama team's for real. I mean, they're amazing. Mac Jones balled out 24-32, 417 yards, 4 TDs. These receivers are amazing. Jalen Waddle, 6 receptions, 161. Devontae Smith, 11 receptions, 167 yards. They just keep churning out these amazing wide receivers at Alabama.
Yep. Nick Saban.
11 different coordinators. They're always the same.
Yep.
I don't know. He's obviously the Bill Belichick of college football, maybe even better proportionally.
Oh, it's not close.
It's unbelievable. I mean, when you look at him and what he does year in and year out with all the pressure in the world on him, I don't care. And in your case, you're an LSU fanatic, which means you hate Alabama, but you have to just sit back in awe. I mean, it's so automatic what his teams do.
No, you do. And right. And I look, I've never understood the hate that LSU fans have for him. So I've never bought into the hate in Alabama because Nick Saban's there. Look, I get, I know the reason why, but I don't understand it because he left LSU for a better job in the NFL. Who wouldn't do that? I mean,
for sure.
I would do that right now. So you would do the same thing. Yes. So I think LSU fans are stupid for thinking that. No, they are. They're ridiculous for hating Nick Saban for leaving for the NFL. It's a ridiculous reason.
Yeah, and there's a perception that they believe they're on the level of Alabama, and they're just not. I mean, they're just not. They're a nice program. They're a good program. They're not Alabama. And
no, and nobody is, for that matter.
They believe that he would have done that had he stayed at LSU. And look, maybe he had. I don't know. Maybe it's just crap luck, and maybe LSU would have been the dominant team for 15 years.
Oh, I think they would have. I do believe that. But I'm not mad at Saban because he went to the NFL.
Right.
Because he was going to go to the NFL, whether he did it that year or the next year. He was going to the NFL.
For sure. Maybe in the next universe, he goes to Alabama first and then goes to the Dolphins and then goes to LSU, and you guys are the dominating program. But you got to just respect the guy. Hats off to him and what he does every single season.
And then here's Saban. He's got COVID. Oh, never mind.
Yeah,
he's the only guy that can get COVID in 3 days.
It's like the Chuck Norris memes. He's like, no, I don't have COVID. He told COVID to screw off, and COVID said, okay, I'm sorry, sir. Let me just go ahead and leave your body immediately. It won't happen again. I totally didn't. I didn't recognize you as the GOAT of college football coaches. Please carry on. Please proceed.
You're exactly right.
Please proceed to your Saturday night game, sir. May I escort you there?
Now it's time for Dead Wrong.
The Cleveland Browns in Pittsburgh will win that game. Yeah, so I don't know what possessed me to pick the Cleveland Browns. I had a feeling, and sometimes you just go off a feeling, and I was dead wrong. I mean, it's perfect for this segment. Cleveland got destroyed. I was absolutely wrong. I disrespected the Pittsburgh Steelers, and for that, I'm sorry.
Dead wrong.
I'm going to tell you this. I think Georgia wins this game rather easily. I don't think it'll be a blowout by any stretch of imagination. But with or without Saban, I think Georgia wins this game. Georgia's the only team in the SEC right now playing defense.
And for me, I'm sorry I disrespected Nick Saban and Alabama Crimson Tide. I thought Georgia, coming off a big win last week, and their defense looking like the best defense in the SEC, comes in and gets completely shellacked by Alabama. And they ran away with it in the second half. And Alabama is clearly superior, still tops in the SEC, and that's not going to change anytime soon.
Hey, we live and learn, right?
Absolutely.
If we were always right, we would be billionaire gamblers.
That is true.
There you go. So let's do an end of the road, sir. Your team this week for the end of the road is...
This is an easy one for me. It is the Los Angeles Rams.
Whoa, really?
Done. I've been down on them all year. You know that. I've been down on them all year. I don't think Jared Goff is. I think he's gone after this year. I don't think they. I think McVay has done as much as he can do with him, and he's ready to get his own quarterback in there.
That surprises me, man. I'm gonna go Minnesota Vikings.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
it's pretty obvious, and they're
Yeah.
1-5 now. I mean, are they mathematically eliminated? Of course not, but they would have turned it around if they were going to turn it around by now. There's some real serious issues in Minnesota. You don't lose 5 out of your first 6 games without some serious issues. So Minnesota is unofficially eliminated for me from the playoff contention.
I think Minnesota's going to blow it up after the season.
I think they may have to, which is hard to say considering, they've been solid the last few years. They've won playoff games, but they're not doing well this season. And your Rams pick really surprises me. I still like the Rams as a wild card team in the NFC.
The Rams have been constantly inconsistent all year. And yesterday, losing to the 49ers, who are decimated with injuries, coming off an embarrassing loss against the Dolphins last week. You can't go out there and play like that last night. And so I'm just down on the Rams, and I think they're done. And I think they're looking for a new quarterback after the year.
I just don't know how much of that last night was the Rams and how much of that was just the Niners being just mad and just, Jimmy G played a good game, which again, Mr. Inconsistent, but he played a good game. They played a sound game. And look, when they're on, they're hard to beat. So I can't get a read on last night. Was that more Niners or was that more Rams?
Yeah, that's fair. And I don't know. I don't know either, really. But I know that it looked like the same Rams team I've been watching all year.
Point well taken. We'll see. I mean, that's a great thing about these predictions is we'll see. And we'll be dead wrong or maybe we'll be right.
Hey, yeah, it'd be
it
nice
would be nice to be right occasionally. Hey, you were right several times this week. You picked that Tampa game. I think you picked that one out, and I think I was wrong on too many things this week. Next week, I'll redeem myself, though.
We'll be better next week.
Well, that's going to do it for us for this show, guys. We appreciate you listening. Don't forget to catch us on our Thursday show where we will preview Week 7 of the NFL and also get you caught up on the World Series. Have a great day. And that's going to do it for us for this episode of Bending the Bracket. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to follow our latest content. You can also find us on Facebook or Twitter @Bending Sports. Have a great day.